Yesterday, it was Mark and all of his books, or fake books. We got the Dreamcatcher. BK, good to see you.
Your little kid's desk.
Let's get this thing rocking. Less than 2 months. That's all the time the Lakers had to rest before getting right back at it. Frank Vogel was asked today how he balances live action versus drill work in practice.
No, it makes me want to do less live work, actually, just out of concern for, making sure that our players are not put in, a situation where they could be vulnerable to injury. You know, if your body's not used to playing live basketball, like you typically would be building up to a normal training camp, I think you have to take it slower, do more drill work, try to put your system in through drill work as much as possible, and then, introduce the live action sort of at a slower pace to get their bodies used to contact again. Basically, just went day by day. Thought about getting in the gym because we're figuring out us playing, season starting this early. I think I didn't get a touch of basketball until I got back to LA. And then just started doing some, individual workouts and stuff, just to get back in the regimen, in the rhythm. But no, I didn't touch a ball at all once I left the bubble.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, especially for us in Miami, but there's nothing we can do about it. We got to get ready. Coach has done a great job of making sure that we ramp up, the right way and not going crazy. The first couple of days of camp, we've been kind of slowly getting back into the swing of things while also getting work in. So it's crazy not to be able to, kind of really celebrate and have a parade and things like that with the fans and the city. But, it's something that we have to just get through, be able to come out and defend our title, as well as making sure that, we stay fresh and get ready for Friday.
Do you know if LeBron and AD are going to play in the first preseason game on Friday?
We haven't made that decision yet. I would say it's probably unlikely that they'll play.
All right, so KCP didn't touch a basketball until he got back to LA. Markieff Morris said the same thing to us a few days ago. BK, we just heard Frank say right there that it's unlikely we see AD and LeBron in the Lakers preseason game number 1 on Friday. How do you see him navigating the minutes here in practice and preseason?
He's going to have to be really careful. I know the Lakers talked last year, and I really surprised a lot of people with how aggressively they came out of the gate trying to win games. And they put the pedal down really fast. They just can't do it again this year. They're going to have to be much more cautious with everyone, not just LeBron and AD. But, you talk, KCP. I mean, all these guys came out of the bubble. They had their bumps and bruises. None of them are in shape. None of them have played the pickup games that NBA players typically do. They're going to have to be very careful pushing out minutes. You'll see a lot of THT, you'll see a lot of Devontae Kaycock in the preseason. The younger guys, they're going to get some run.
And I think, Brez, to that point, you actually talked, I believe, with Frank today about that, kind of divvying up those minutes. How do you see him kind of dispersing them? And will anything we see in the preseason look like what we might see on opening night?
Frank was pretty funny when I asked him. He basically said, look, I know what these guys are like. Even if they haven't been on our team, specifically, like a Schroeder or a Harrell, he's been watching the NBA long enough and these guys long enough to know exactly what they can do on the court. So he said, we're going to get some of these guys in, but don't expect a lot from some of the bigger names, definitely in the preseason opener. On the other hand, he said, okay, I've seen him play. We don't need to get him a ton of time in the preseason, but eventually we will need to get all these guys on the same page. So he has to kind of straddle a pretty fine line, getting these guys on the court together, but also making sure they get some rest because, as we know, not a lot of time elapsed from when we last saw the Lakers play a game. And
he's keeping it no secret. I think he used the word he wants to master. That's his goal. This balance between not overworking and working them enough. It all starts for real, though, in 2 weeks. And it's a tough schedule right out of the gate. Opening night, December 22nd against Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the Clippers. Christmas Day, Luka Doncic and the Mavs are in town, followed by the Timberwolves and Blazers. The Lakers head out on the road for the first time on December 30th to take on the Spurs. So, Brez, no game in the NBA is easy. We know that. But the Lakers didn't get any favors in the first 5 games. What are you expecting to see from LA as the season begins?
Well, I think we'll see LeBron and AD play those first 2 games, especially with the NBA rule that, hey, you have to play in the big TV games. Opening night, big TV game. 3 days later, Christmas night, big TV game. So those guys will be out there running around for sure. And then I don't know what we're going to see from them for the next 3 games, if not beyond that. Like you said, some tough games. I'm not sold on the San Antonio game, that 5th game being that tough. The Lakers actually played them 3 times over the span of about 2 or 3 weeks, which I think is good for them. San Antonio kind of on the way down. No offense to Popovich. Please don't at me on it. But definitely the Lakers, not an easy schedule to start the season.
Yeah, and I just think you look at it, obviously opening night against the Clippers, that's a big game. Everybody's going to be up for that. Everybody's going to play in that. You don't sit guys on Christmas like that. That is a marquee day for the NBA. The Lakers will go out and they'll push for those 2 games. It's that back-to-back with Minnesota and Portland where I think you'll start to see Frank Vogel make those adjustments, whether certainly, somebody's going to sit on one side or the other of that back-to-back. I'd be shocked if that didn't happen. Or at the very least, you'll start to see the rotation change a little bit. Frank Vogel going deeper into the bench, playing different combinations. That's when it's going to start to get a little bit, a little bit more creative, I think might be the right word there. 3 games in what is that? Four nights, I believe.
Yes, sir.
BK, I want to stick with you on this because I think one thing that we got to give Frank Vogel credit for is he really made adjustments and made lineups and combinations work when he needed to last season. And so as he embarks on this new challenge of balancing who plays in the preseason, who doesn't, mixed with 4 new faces and trying to bring this whole thing together, you certainly have confidence that he's going to find and strike that right balance.
I think that's a great point, Allie, because you go back to last year, guys deep in the bench, Quinn Cook, Troy Daniels, Jared Dudley, they got minutes. And, Vogel was really good at making sure that everybody stayed involved. It became particularly important when they got into the bubble and into the playoffs when they had to change lineups so much. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it that's more than just keeping guys fresh or whatever it might be. And so, you're going to see different floor combinations. You're going to see guys going deep into the bench with all of these new guys that they have to try to find the best combinations, to try to find the guys that work well together. Because remember, they're playing every other day. There's not going to be a lot of practice time to figure out which 5-man units work the best. So everybody's going to need to play. It's important in a lot of ways.
We just showed a graphic with 4 names on it, and it's still there. Okay, Marc Gasol, Wesley Matthews, they're getting up in age a little bit. All right, we're not going to be seeing them playing 30 minutes a night in these preseason games. But, eventually they'll need to get in there. The guys I think we'll see more of are Harrell and Schroeder. Those are the 2 guys. They're young. They're in their 20s. They just signed big contracts. They're hoping to sign big contracts maybe next season. They want to show everyone what they can do as quickly as possible with their brand new team. So I think those 2 guys will get some burn in the preseason. The other 2, I'm not sure about Gasol and Wesley Matthews.
Look, a lot of questions, but not a lot of time to figure it out. We're going to find out sooner or later how Frank Vogel and his staff handles it.
Championships in NBA league history. The 2016 Cavs coming back from 3-1 versus 73-9 team, being down 3-1 versus one of the best teams that ever been assembled.
2-time MVP.
2-time MVP. And then what we went through in the bubble. And if you were not in a bubble, you don't quite understand it. You will never, ever understand how hard it was to win that championship, to be able to motivate yourself, to be this is literally out of your whole comfort zone.
No family, no
family. I didn't see my family for 8.5 weeks. And then it was just my wife. I didn't see my kids until I got out of the bubble, 96 days. Everything you're accustomed to, your own bed or your chef, your sleeping pattern, you're so accustomed to, for me, I'm a routine guy. And when my routine is like knocked off, it's like, I don't know, it's hard for me to center myself. So
I'm with you.
I'm literally in the bubble at times, like in my room, literally seeing the walls like this, like The Shining.
Just blood.
Just like blood coming down my walls. I go in the hallway. It's like 2 kids on a tricycle. I'm like, oh, holy shit, what is going on? I got to go home. I'm ready to leave.
You haven't seen The Shining. We want you to play with us.
Yes.
You got to see The Shining.
It's one of the greatest ever horror movies. I'm a horror movie connoisseur, guys. I'm sorry for the people that don't watch horror movies, but it felt like a horror movie in the bubble. And I just believe that I've been a part of 2 of the hardest championships in league history. And I don't care what anyone says about that. You can debate who's the greatest of all time individually, things of that nature, and what they've done. But as far as the teams, that's one of the 2 hardest championships in league history. I've been a part of that.
All right, so let's talk about him. From coming back down 3-1 on the 73-9 Warriors in 2016, thinking about all that the Lakers faced in terms of adversity last season, do you agree those are the 2 hardest titles won?
Absolutely. I mean, I dare someone to come up with 2 other ones. Look, I covered that Golden State-Cleveland series for the LA Times. Allie, I got tired just kind of going back and forth on the plane from Oakland to Cleveland for all the games in that series. I mean, it was tense. It was dramatic. And indeed, they were the first team ever to overturn a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals. That's that one. And, of course, the NBA season that we just witnessed ending a couple months ago, the longest ever in league history, maybe the longest of any season of all time anywhere. So, yeah, LeBron is absolutely spot on when he says that. BK,
as I pitched that question to Brez, I saw you shake your head yes as well.
I don't know. Look, I'm not a historian. I can't go back and break down the path for every. Beating that Warriors team was a remarkable achievement. It's hard to find, particularly given what LeBron had to do on an individual level, the performance that was required to do it. You know, was this title that they just won in 2020, was that harder? Was their path harder? Did they have to play the hardest teams? I don't know, but it was unique relative to everything else that the NBA has ever done. There has never been a situation like that where the mental fatigue that goes into playing in that bubble, as LeBron pointed out, being away from your family for, what do you say, 95, 96 days, whatever that, didn't see his kids. You're out of your routines. The isolation there, from a mental standpoint, it's hard to think of something that was more challenging than that, even if you think the Lakers didn't have the hardest path to get there based on their opponents.
So, BK, LeBron compares being in that bubble to that of The Shining. I still haven't seen the movie. Are we surprised? No one's surprised. That was 2 weeks ago, and I still haven't watched it. So will you help me understand what he's talking about? Was the bubble really that bad?
I believe the hotel they were staying at had a problem where every time you got off at the wrong floor, blood would come out of the elevator.
That's a lie.
That's probably what it was.
Red rum. Red rum. What's red rum backwards, Allie? Do you know?
No.
Well,
murder. There you go.
There we go.
They also, the Morris, they have those creepy twins in The Shining. The Morris brothers were there. I don't know. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Do you think that the other Lakers felt the way that Bron felt as well?
Yeah.
That it was like The Shining?
Maybe not the walls closing in and pools of blood everywhere. And
little tricycles.
I mean, Jack Nicholson is one of the biggest Laker fans of all time, so maybe he was trying to get into the bubble a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. When you talk to people who were in the bubble, whether it's reporters or coaches or players, it was unlike anything they ever experienced, and there was no doubt that this season was going to start without a bubble. Now, where are we, 8 months from now, 7 months from now? Are we in a bubble situation for the Final Four of the NBA or maybe the playoffs? No one knows. But, yeah, really, LeBron is right when he says we sacrificed a ton to be in Orlando for 3 full months. Not a lot of family time, not a lot of good friends time. Just a lot of team time, and it worked out for them, but I'm sure they do not care to revisit that anytime soon.
And again, as he said it, I won't question him. As he said it, if you weren't in there and you didn't experience that 96 days, 95 nights, as he recalls, then you would never understand. But he didn't get me to go watch The Shining. The both of you did just right now. So kudos to the both of you. Sticking with LeBron, fresh off winning his 4th NBA title in 17 seasons, LeBron James is right back in the gym working harder than ever to get his 5th, something that hasn't gone unnoticed from new teammate Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, it's the 18th year. I don't even know what to say. And he's still one of the hardest working guys in this building. He's here early, leaving late. I mean, it's just crazy to see, but to be around him, his presence, just how he, practices, even off the court stuff, what I've seen so far, treatment, all that stuff, I just try to get better at myself as well. So I think he is a big role model, for everyone here. To see, that he's doing it for 18 years on the biggest stage. And didn't slow down yet. So everybody, is watching him try to get better each day as well.
No, that's a huge part of this year's plan is to have Dennis out there with LeBron, alleviating some of the pressure, but also his ability to play off the ball. That's what we love about him. They're going to see heavy minutes throughout the course of the year this year. We haven't seen a ton of it yet in practice because most of our practice so far has been sort of like drill work more than live action, or 4-on-4s or things like that. But, that combination is going to be one that we envision being a great one for us this year.
BK, it's been 3 days, and Dennis Schroeder has already picked up on the work ethic of LeBron James. We talked yesterday with Brez on the show about he and Dennis Schroeder working as tandem in that backcourt. How do you see it playing out?
I think, look, the two numbers I think that are critical when you look at Dennis Schroeder when he plays with LeBron, because he's not going to have the ball in his hands as much as he normally would. 42.5% last year in Oklahoma City on catch and shoot opportunities, and almost 40% on wide open threes. He's going to see a lot of both of those playing with LeBron James. He'll also be able to, do a little bit of what Rajon Rondo did last year, allowing LeBron to take some possessions off. It could have some really interesting pick and roll patterns between those guys and whatever. But primarily, I think when they're on the floor together, one of his big contributions is going to be being out there as an outlet for LeBron to drive and kick and converting those three-pointers, frankly, at a higher rate than I think they were at a rate, I should say, they were hoping Danny Green would do it last year. Yeah,
I'm not sure we're going to be seeing LeBron setting a lot of screens down low so that Schroeder can kind of direct him off those. It's probably more for like a Montrezl Harrell with LeBron. But still, BK, you hit a lot of good points there. These two are going to be really good in the backcourt together because both can handle the ball. Both can shoot threes. Both are pretty good mid-range. Both can get to the basket. Schroeder is deceptively good at getting to the cup despite being only 6'1". So I think they're going to be really good with each other, whether they're on ball or off ball. Doesn't matter who's going to have it. They'll be almost interchangeable in that sense.
Before we go to break, BK, we have something for you. 21 Pacific Division. No surprise, the Lakers are the favorites at -140. The Clippers are right on their heels at +125. The Warriors took a hit, losing Klay Thompson for the season, dropping their odds to +1800, followed by the Suns and the Kings. So, Braz and BK, let's take a dip into the Pacific Division. Obviously, the Lakers are a favorite for a reason. They're the NBA champs after all. I was a little surprised by the Clippers right behind them. Are they a legit title contender?
Yeah. I mean, okay, not a good thing that they lost Montrezl Harrell, especially to your down-the-hall buddy, the Lakers. But I thought they did okay. They recovered quickly. Serge Ibaka, not a bad signing. The problem for them is going to be new coaching staff, all right? Yet another season of underwhelming finality. I mean, they lost again in the second round after being up 3-1. This franchise just seems to have trouble getting out of its own way. And let's not forget the Lakers improved, I would say, dramatically from before last season started with the roster on paper as we speak.
Look, I mean, it is both fashionable and, quite frankly, entertaining for Lakers fans to mock the Clippers and make fun of them and look at everything that's gone wrong. And I get it. But look, they have Kawhi Leonard. They have Paul George. And I think Serge Ibaka actually is a better fit for those guys in terms of late game situations than Montrezl Harrell was. Particularly if you want to try to figure out a way to play Lou Williams as well. So they are a very, very good team. The thing that I think is intriguing about the Clippers is that the level of pressure on this team is unbelievable. Like, everybody thought maybe, things go wrong with the Lakers, it would be them risking losing all their stars and this and that. It's the Clippers this year that if things go wrong, this franchise is going to be in very bad shape. And so I think that actually could help them, but could also hurt them if they face some adversity.
And look, that's the thing is on paper, as you guys both mentioned, they are great and they look great, but it's all about putting it together. And last season we did not see that. So we'll see how that looks for this season. Moving on to the Warriors, we thought we're getting Steph and Klay back, and then, of course, they lost Klay to that Achilles tear. They'll be much improved, though. Do we see them being able to compete this year like we all expect?
Yeah, I kind of like the Vegas odds on them. It's about right. They might be able to sneak into the playoffs, maybe have to do a play-in situation to get there. But I like some of the other pieces they have. Obviously, Draymond back. Steph is back. I thought picking up Kelly Oubre, kind of a good under-the-radar acquisition. I also kind of like Andrew Wiggins, the former #1 pick. I know he has not lived up to expectations, but getting him towards the end of this past season, I thought that was a nice little move by them. And he's going to be okay down the road. And, of course, the #2 overall pick, James Wiseman, what's he going to do for them at the 5? You know, some interesting pieces there. I just don't know if it means a top 8 playoff spot when all is said and done.
Yeah, the Clay's injury this year is probably the saddest thing that happened to the NBA. Awful. There's just no question about it. And it took that team from being a legit contender to this sort of fringy playoff team. Kevin Pelton from ESPN has them 13th in his projections, which are analytics based and all that kind of stuff. And like Mike says, it gets down to like weird things like, how good is James Wiseman? What does Kent Bazemore give you? How about Kevon Looney? Like, you need certain strange and surprising things are going to happen for the Warriors to jump back up into the, the top half of the conference. And I agree with Mike. They could struggle to make that top 8.
All right, so the other 2 in the Pacific, the Suns and Thunder, completed a surprising trade this offseason. 10-time All-Star Chris Paul is back in the Pacific Division, where he spent 6 years with the Clippers. This time, he's in Phoenix, who traded 4 players in a 2022 first-round pick to get him. Now, BK, the Suns went a perfect 9-0. They were the talk of the bubble. Everyone loved watching what they were able to do, pairing CP3 with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Do we see this working?
I do. I think the Suns were a team that were on, that it's just that. I was about to say the Suns rising. That's terrible. And nobody should do that.
You're better than that.
But they were improving. That's a better way of doing it. And they needed pieces like Chris Paul, veteran piece like Jay Crowder to kind of come in here and help do that. The thing that I think helps them a great deal with that CP3 trade isn't just what they got. It's also what they kept. They kept Michael Bridges on the wing, who's an excellent defender and a good shooter. They kept Cam Johnson, who played surprisingly well as a shooter last year. There's a lot of talent on this team. And look at what CP did with Oklahoma City, a young group of guys last year. That team really outperformed expectations. I think that could happen again.
Yeah, I like this team. If I was in Vegas, I'd probably put $1 on them to win the division. Pretty good odds for them, I thought. But another team, I don't know if they make the playoffs. I mean, they could be a top 5 or 6 team, and they could also miss out. There's just a lot of new things going on there. You saw the trade graphic there. They gave up a lot of people to bring in really just one guy. I think it works. I kind of like Chris Paul and Devin Booker in the same backcourt. Some good young players in the front court. And I do like the Crowder pickup. That's going to help the Suns guard guys like LeBron and Kawhi, some of the more physical threes in the league. I just don't know if it's enough.
Certainly going to be fun to watch. I'm really excited to see CP3.
What are they? We don't really know, do we? But it'll be entertaining.
What's going on up north? Let's talk about that. Because it was an interesting offseason, to say the least, for the Sacramento Kings. Of course, what fell apart with Bogdanovich in Milwaukee, and then they failed to match that 4-year, $72 million offer sheet with the Hawks. BK, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Rule number 1 of sign and trade. Ask the guy if he wants to be traded to the place you're signing him to or whatever that is. That didn't go well. I don't know. They're not going to be good. They're not a top 8 team. They're not a threat to win much of anything. But they do have some talent, and you can squint a little bit and see, okay, if Marvin Bagley is healthy and plays well, and De'Aaron Fox is a really fun young player, and Bogdanovich being gone kind of removes the clutter in the way of Buddy Hield, and they love Tyrese Halliburton, the rookie that they drafted this year. So if everything lines up, maybe they're in that top 10. They have a chance to play their way in. But it's like every year in Sacramento. I don't know. I don't know what's going on up there. Nobody knows what's going on up there.
Yeah, BK and Allie, a tough second year apparently on the horizon for Luke Walton. I don't know if I put $1 on the Kings to win the Pacific Division. Just so many question marks up there. Bogdanovich, the failure to match that contract, definitely a minus in the column. They had some injuries last year. Maybe Marvin Bagley does come back and show a little bit of what he did 2 seasons ago, but just too many question marks and too good of a division, for my money, the best in the NBA.
All right, great rundown from the both of you of the Pacific Division. One question for you. I'll start with you, BK. Which one do you think is most likely to challenge the Lakers?
Of those teams, it's Phoenix.
Wow.
What? Over the Clippers?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Well, I forgot that. I thought you meant like the. See, I told you, Clippers slated.
Hey, he brings a different dynamic.
I thought you meant the dark horse teams. And I'm going to try to cover for the fact that I forgot the Clippers were one option. I was, but yes, it's the Clippers. But once you get past the obvious answer, the one that Brez was probably going to take, because that's just the lane he stays in, then it's the Suns.
BK, there's going to be some blood coming down off those walls.
It's really going to feel like The Shining real quick.
Yeah, it's the Clippers, no doubt about it. Like I said, lost a little bit with the Montrez situation, but good save with Ibaka. And they still got 2 all-stars, perennial all-stars on that team. It's the Clippers that could challenge the Lakers.
Did you see our reaction to BK? The Suns, without a doubt. What?
You forget one team that also happens to play in the same city as yours, and everybody makes fun of you.
Oh, you said it, not us. The first half, Danny Green on Instagram today. He said, "Thank you to my Lakers family, the city of LA, and Laker fans everywhere for welcoming me to your city and your team. We had one job, and we made it happen. I'll never forget my time as part of the Lake Show, and I have all of you to thank for it. Special shout out to my teammates and coaching staff for an unforgettable season. How about this, guys? Thank you to the Spectrum Sportsnet team for helping Inside the Green Room do our thing and for being great partners. On to the next chapter." Very classy.
Appreciate that.
And this tweet from the Lakers today, that purple and gold is a perfect fit. Marc Gasol. Earlier today, Frank Vogel talked about the role Marc Gasol and Montrezl Harrell will play on this year's Lakers roster.
They can play at least the roles that JaVale and Dwight did from a minute standpoint, maybe more. I think that's something that will just play out over the course of the season. But we still would like to have a blend of AD playing at the 4 and as well as playing at the 5, which is obviously something, our ability to shift back and forth in the playoffs last year was pivotal and important to us winning the championship. And, something that we'll balance again this season.
I think in these first couple days of camp, we kind of just toyed with it a little bit. Me playing some 5, me playing some 4. Let's say Marcus, defensive player of the year. He can guard bigger guys. And then, Trez is a fighter. I mean, we lost 2 guys who, JaVale and Dwight, who played our 5 spot, but I think we got 2 guys, who, one can be undersized, but has a lot of dog and a lot of fight to play against anybody, guard anybody. And then, obviously, in, certain cases, I'll also play the 5. So, just not. And I mean, this season is cut short. This season is a lot different from any other season. Well, I won't say any other, because last year was a different season. But, we'll mix it in and take it game by game and just see what happens. We were very successful when I was at the 5. So maybe it's something that we, kind of wait for the playoffs again. And then during the course of the season, kind of toy with it, game by game.
All right, BK, so you've got Anthony Davis, Marc Gasol, and Montrezl Harrell. How do you see the workload between those 3 splitting up?
This is going to be one of the more fascinating challenges for Vogel this year, is figuring that out, because you do need to protect Marc Gasol from a minutes standpoint. AD doesn't love to play a ton of minutes at the 5 if he can avoid it. Down the stretch of games, it's okay, but not all night long. And Montrezl Harrell, at least to this point in his career, has had some defensive issues in terms of rim protection and things like that. Good drawing charges, but not a great defender, at least by reputation. So, can you make Harrell better by playing him next to Davis with the short guy playing the 5 and the tall guy playing the 4? Like, how much can you do with Marc Gasol? This is going to be the hard thing to figure out. Wouldn't shock me if later in the year they picked up one more big, but don't forget too, they can stay pretty long with Markieff Morris. And LeBron James, a pretty big guy, too.
Markieff, yeah, that's a name we saw during the playoffs that really made a difference on that end of the floor. Brez, let's stick with Anthony Davis for a second, because the very first time we heard from him during his press conference, he made it very clear he doesn't want to play the center. Now, he did it when he needed to, and he was great at it. Where do you see him playing his most minutes?
At the 4. It's funny. Statistically, he's actually better at the 5, but you want to listen to your star player, and if he says, I don't love playing the 5, you put him at the 4 until the last few minutes of a game or playoffs or the championship or whatever. It was kind of funny when I asked Frank Vogel today on Zoom, how are you going to see it playing out? It was like it was 4th and 27, because Frank punted that ball as quickly as you can imagine. It's not ready for him to talk about that yet. And I get it. It's only, day 3 of training camp? But eventually he'll make a decision. I think maybe we will see Marc Gasol start and maybe keep Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench But it's not our decision. We'll see what Frank does.
Speaking of Montrez, a bit undersized.
Sure.
But don't underestimate the
6'8",
dog in him,
6'7",
right?
yeah.
That's why you don't have much concern. Or do you, with that lack of size? You think of last year when they had Dwight Howard and JaVale, two real strong, big interior guys.
It's a different feel because JaVale and Dwight, shot blockers, played above the rim. And don't get me wrong, Montrez does too, but, JaVale's a legit 7-footer. That is not the case with Montrez. Dwight is listed at 6'11". He's probably closer to 6'9" ¾ but still, definitely a guy. They love going back and forth and trying to get the alley-oops and everything. But, it's a different thing with Montrez. He's just not the size of a normal center. It's a good problem to have. Still a very gifted player. We'll see how it shakes out.
BK, from the bigs to just the ability to space the floor, I'd say that the Lakers got even better than they did last season, and they won a championship. What do you like about the floor spacing?
I think, you're talking about the bigs. I think one of the big additions that they made was Marc Gasol's ability to shoot the three. I know there was some questions about how he was reluctant to do it with the Raptors last year in the bubble, but he's still somebody that you have to honor that shot out there. So I think that's going to help them. It's going to add some diversity to the offense. There's no question in that way. Wes Matthews is an excellent shooter. We talked earlier in the show about the numbers that Dennis Schroeder put up last year as both a catch-and-shoot guy and as a spot-up guy on wide-open threes. When you play with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, you're going to get those opportunities. And all around the floor throughout the rotation, with the exception of Montrezl Harrell, basically everybody that they added is somebody who can shoot the ball. And I think that will make a difference. Trade a little bit of defense for better offense, and I think overall it'll help.
And by the way, Montrez's motor is just so strong. It doesn't matter if he's 6'7" or 6'11".
He doesn't quit.
Still very tough. A bulldog. He will show up every single night.
This is why we say the Lakers, though they won a championship, whew, did they get better.
Amazing.
And more dangerous. ESPN has revealed the first half of their top 100 current NBA players. 4 Lakers have made the list so far. New additions, Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, and Marc Gasol are on the list at number 76, 77, and 96, while KCP checks in at number 77. We knew the offseason was an A+ for the Lakers, guys, but adding 3 of the league's top 100, that's kind of amazing, Bres.
Yeah, where's Kuz, by the way? Need to get him out there, see if he can sneak in the top 50. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but indeed, this team did not have a lot of trade capital. Okay, it's not like they had a bunch of lottery picks sitting there waiting to be dealt. Last month when Rob Pelinka started putting this team together. What an amazing deal he did. Getting 4 guys who are going to be difference makers, maybe not every night, but certainly an overwhelming number of nights. 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of them are going to jump up and help contribute to this team. It makes sense that these guys are all in the 51 to 100 portion of the ESPN top 100.
BK, how impressive is this?
It's really impressive, the level of talent. First of all, Bres, you talk about Kuz sneaking in there. I think a lot of Lakers fans are assuming that Alex Caruso is in the top 50. They're going to start throwing elbows around.
Great line.
To me, the thing that strikes me with that ranking is where Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is. Because remember, when he was signed, this was, for all the talk of Mana from Heaven and all these other things, it was not. He was considered a guy that was sort of, paid a little bit for the clutch, whatever it might be. And the way he's contributed and become so crucial to this team's success, I think it's fantastic for him. It's a validation of all the work he puts in. And I'm excited to see him on that list. But it does say he's going to have to be a big contributor this year because, look where he is. This is a guy who's expected now to play very well.
So we know that the Lakers are probably pretty excited about this list, but there's some people that aren't excited about this. How about this? DeMar DeRozan, that LA native we were talking about, doesn't agree much with being ranked at number 82. He tweeted this. Bres, do you know what those emojis are?
Spell it out for us, Allie, would you? What's going on there? I got the clown part.
I got the clown part.
Clown poop.
Thanks, BK. Yeah, DeMar not really excited about that, is he? He's a pretty solid player, too. But ESPN, they didn't love him on their list, did they?
Do we have any problems with the list so far?
I saw a couple. I thought Tyler Hero was a little high. I think he came in at 59. He's a good player. He's coming off his rookie season, did some good stuff in the bubble, but 59, a little high for me. And then at 54, former Laker Lonzo Ball. This guy averaged, 7 points in the bubble. Was kind of picking on reporters. He was at 51, I'm told. Kind of picking on reporters with some tweets after they kind of disparaged his play in the bubble. Yeah, I thought those two guys were a little too high.
What about you, BK?
I don't know. I mean, I think DeMar DeRozan is probably not the 82nd best player in the NBA, but Lonzo Ball was excellent for my fantasy team last year. So I do have to give him credit for that. And if that's what it takes, that's where it lands him for doing me right last year, then I'm okay with it.
Let's have fun.
It's all about you.
Because it's only the bottom half.
Yes, Mike, it is. All about me. That's exactly right.
I agree.
Excuse me, the back half, I should say, of the top 100. So the top 100, we know that LeBron and AD will be on this list.
Yes.
Where will they be on this list?
Well,
Prediction.
I looked it up last year. LeBron was 3 and AD was 5. I think they're going to go 2 and 3 this year. I'll tell you why.
Whoa!
The media seems to have a fascination with putting Giannis atop lists and atop awards and atop voting situations. I have a feeling he'll be the number 1. He was last season, but I think I could see LeBron bumped up to 2 and AD moving up to 3.
Perez has some infatuation, obsession with Milwaukee, and I don't understand.
Do you think LeBron will be 1?
I think they'll be 1 and 2.
Wow,
BK,
okay,
what do you think?
Okay.
I think maybe it's a deep-seated hatred of Laverne and Shirley. We got to investigate this with Brez a little bit more. I think 1 and 3. I think LeBron will be 1, and I think AD is 3. But what's fascinating to me, guys, is the idea that could flip-flop where AD, not that LeBron would drop to 3, but where AD might be considered the 1 by the end of the season. That's the dream scenario for the Lakers.
Okay, so I'm going to ask both of you then. What is it going to take for LeBron to be 1?
He might be. He might be. I'm sure maybe the ESPN guys who are putting this together are saying, well, Giannis is so good at both ends of the court. I would say he's not winning. He hasn't got to the NBA Finals yet. So if you want to talk about winners, and LeBron really improved defensively last season, no doubt about it, then maybe LeBron and AD should be 1 and 2 and kind of punish Giannis for not winning, make him 3 or 4, whatever you want to do with that.
Yeah, I'm not one of these guys who gets all over people for calling somebody the second best player in the NBA as opposed to
some people
that's not exactly slander. I know, I get it, but that's not exactly slander. But I mean, Giannis is really good. It's not a crime to put LeBron right behind Giannis. It's that group of top 5 guys. Where do you draw the line between that super elite group of LeBron, Giannis, and now the big thing is Anthony Davis is in that group. Last year, he wouldn't have been. This year, he is. And I think that's what makes the Lakers so difficult to deal with around the league is they have 2 of those guys.
And what do you do with Harden, too? No one knows what's going to happen with him in Houston. Yeah, lot of weirdness in the top 5.
Pencil it in. The Lakers are going to win the championship next season. BK said that LeBron can be number 2. That's all the motivation he needs. Done.
Hey,
done.
Motivation station.
It works.
And you're going to take all the credit for it. Lakers basketball is back on Friday. The first of 4 preseason games is Friday.